Hi everyone, welcome back to Taraka Railways, aka Lizzie's Railways, and welcome back to the railway and yet another review. A great steam locomotive will be unboxed in this episode as part of my 2025 orders, some orders that were delayed, along with some closed wagons that I received late last year. And in reference to the 80th VE Day specials, we are looking at the Merchant Navy class, or as they are known, the spam cans. Amazing streamlined locomotives and rebuilt once. So today we are looking at the version I have. And this model comes in a very special 80th VE Specials boxing by Hornby. And this model obviously in the black livery, classified as an 8P, and its description on the side of the box, Hornby R30455, number 21C9, Hornby SR Merchant Navy class, Shore Savill, and DCC ready, double O gauge 21 pin connection, and the special 80th day 1945 to 2025 80th anniversary box. Very special inner protection, very classy and very expensive feel to it. And removing the cover, and what do we see? The Shore Savill in black livery. I can't wait to unbox this logo. Obviously clearing out the less important things like the maintenance sheet and pamphlet that we get with the logo, and we will see all the service guide and accessories, how to fit that, and general maintenance there, as well as the accessory packets. And while we're on that topic, I also found that there's 2 packets with, it looks like drain cocks in it, and so I wasn't sure which one I need to, because I couldn't see on the pamphlet provided where they should be fitted. I don't know if I just missed it in my haste and excitement on the logo. So I referred to the image of the logo and I used the drain cocks on the image there, and so I installed those set that I found. So still not too sure why I've got 2 packets in the box. But yeah, moving on. As you can see here, those are the 2 drain cocks that I'm referring to, and yes, I'm going to have to investigate and just double check on the fitment there, but currently it's fitted on the logo and it runs smoothly. Coming to the unboxing of the logo, and it's such a special occasion and such a special livery in this logo. And yes, the logo itself so amazing that I actually don't really want to take it out of the box yet. I want it to stay in that supreme unique condition forever, but we have to get it out on the layout, we have to get it running, and she just looks marvelous in her packaging. So without further ado, let's jump into the review of this logo. So let's just get her in position, and there we have Shore Savill up close and personal for you. Very majestic and very boldly, this logo stands out like a sword of Excalibur. I do believe Hornby has released quite a few of the Pacific streamlined and rebuilt options, and I even did a review of the Canadian Pacific that I own, and you will see a link in the description box at the end of this episode on that specific loco. So once again, this locomotive looks just amazing in its black wartime southern black livery, and the other Pacifics in their blue line livery was also just so amazing. So these are very, very important locomotives, part of my collection, and powerful locomotives in their day, and represent the true steam era nostalgic feel of everything. The running number is nicely depicted on the side of the cab, and the southern name also well depicted on the tender, with a great finish in its unique colour edging of the Southern Railway. As you can see here, the wheels are blackened out and in the unique bullet specific style, and then also obviously the drain cocks that are fitted. Also interesting to know that Bulleid's first locos were all the larger locos, and the smaller ones followed, not the norm at all. The smooth casing is just like a powerful statement, way ahead of its time. And it looks like an etched nameplate here, and it's really nicely done and really nicely depicted and separately fitted, also on the smoke box door as previously stated. The wheels of the loco again is absolutely amazing, and some of my friends don't like them at all, and they don't like the locos in all respect, but I love everything steam, but still I also won't buy everything. But steam is steam, and these majestic locos just makes a very, very strong statement when they run on your layout. So looking at the top of the cab here, the cab roof, we can see the mouldings there and special inlets, as well as the air intake, and that is obviously adjustable, so you can open it and close it. And then also we can catch a glimpse of the glazed windows there and the wind deflector on the window frame. Great finishes even at the cab at the bottom, the steps and the steps to the tender, and to name a few. And just coming back to the roof and the top section of the loco, and the outer look of the loco, especially on top, does not have the plastic roof finish as other previous models and current models also to the front of the loco. We have smooth finish right through and not the smoke deflectors and smoke catching type. On top of the roof, there's also a lot of riveting, and we can see the safety valves and also the whistle, made of metal, of course. So riveting and other molding details, and on the roof we see the air intake again with the opening and shutting function, and again in front the buffer beam in red, and yes, sprung buffers. And again, the bullet design of the wheels, front bogies, even connecting rods, coupling rods perfectly formed, and the rear pony is very realistic, although fixed, but so better designed to stay in place. The tender is way different to the rebuilt ones. Once again, great features on the tender, and besides the roof connection to the cab roof, basically canopying there and giving protection to the driver and Pullman, we also have the water intake, and yes, ladders on the rear of the tender, as well as painted lamp irons and the red buffer beam again, and the sprung buffers, of course. The coal area is small, but I guess a person can fill it up and replace it with a more realistic coal load if you feel like it. Once again, just to recap, all the details are perfectly done. The southern name, nicely finished under frame, separately fitted items, molded items, under frame axles, brake rigging and collared that's removable and that you can actually fill up and create a better load or more realistic load if you want. And the separately fitted cap or tender for play, the water filler cap, the ladders at the rear of the tender as previously mentioned, the lamps permanently fitted and painted, and the rear sprung buffers and the NEM tension lock. It ticks all the boxes in my opinion. So all I know is that it was definitely a quality assembly by Hornby here. Testing it around my layout, it runs beautifully. And yes, on that note, it's time for us to delve into the history of this specific. The Navy class was a fleet of merchant Navy class steam engines designed by Oliver Bullard, and a total of 30 Pacifics at the end of the day was developed. They were the first locomotives by Oliver and went by the names Packets, as the first member was named Channel Packet, later became known as Spam Cans. The latter was more a direct descriptive name for them, as they were easier to maintain and to clean, and I think nothing really to do with the Airstream benefits, and if there were any benefits with the Airstream design. Their iconic appearance welded construction was really something different for the time. As other locomotives were done with riveting, this all came about in the wartime. Turned out in Southern Railway black with green shaded sunshine lettering, the locomotive was painted into traditional malachite green after hostilities ended. And we can see clearly that Hornby has illustrated the true look of that lettering on the model as well. The engines were named after the merchant navy shipping lines involved in the Battle of the Atlantic, and latterly those which used Southampton docks, a publicity move by the Southern Railway, which operated the docks at the time. Renumbered to number 35009 in August 1949 under British Railways following nationalisation the previous year. It was rebuilt in 1957 to a more conventional design and was allocated to Exmouth Junction, from where it was withdrawn in September 1964. The SR Merchant Navy class, originally known as the 21C1 class and later informally known as Bullard Pacifics Spam Cans, which name was also applied to the Light Pacifics or Packets, is a class of air-smoothed 462 Pacific steam locomotives designed for the Southern Railway by Oliver Bullard. The Pacific design was chosen in preference to several others proposed by Bullard. At the time, the first members of the class were constructed during the Second World War and the last of the 30 locomotives in 1949. SR Merchant Navy Class 21C9 Shaw Savill, the loco we have here on the layout today, finished in black wartime livery, is an exceptional addition to the victory over Europe, the 80th anniversary collection by Hornby in model form. Powerful locomotive double O gauge, with its sleek lines and impressive design, is DCC ready, equipped with 21-pin socket to easily accommodate digital control. With its distinctive and historical significance, Shaw Savill is a must-have for collectors and enthusiasts looking to bring a piece of wartime rail history to their layouts. Incorporating a number of new developments in British steam locomotive technology, the design of the Merchant Navy class was among the first to use welding in the construction process. This enabled easier fabrication of the components during the austerity of the war and post-war economies. In addition, the locomotives featured thermic siphons in their boilers and the controversial bullet chain-driven valve gear. Due to problems with some of the more novel features of the bullet's design, all members of the class were modified by British Railways during the late 1950s, losing their air-smooth casings in the process. The Merchant Navy class operated until the end of Southern Steam in July 1967. A third of the class has survived and can be seen on heritage railways throughout Great Britain. They were known for reaching speeds of up to 105 miles per hour, equaling 167 kilometers per hour. Such speeds were recorded by examples including number 35003, Royal Mail, since scrapped, and 35028, the Clan Line, both preserved, with the Canadian Pacific 35005, also the rebuilt locomotive I have here on the layout in its stunning blue colour. The Southern Railways was the most financially successful of the Big Four, but this was largely based on investment in suburban and mainline electrification. After the successful introduction of the SR Schoolsclass in 1930, the railway had lagged behind the others in terms of modernisation and its ageing fleet of steam locomotives. Following the retirement of the General Manager of the Southern Railway, Sir Herbert Walker, and Richard Monsell, the Chief Mechanical Engineer, CME, in 1937, their successors considered that the time had come to change this situation. In March 1938, the new General Manager, Gilbert Schlamper, authorised Oliver Bullett's and Monsell's replacement to prepare designs for 20 express passenger services locomotives. The deteriorating international situation prior to the Second World War was an additional factor in the decision. Bullett's first suggestion was for an 8-coupled locomotive with a 4-at-2-wheel arrangement for the heavily loaded Golden Arrow and Night Ferry Continental Express trains, although this was quickly modified to a 2-at-2, a wheel arrangement associated with Nigel Gresley's P2 locomotives. Bullard himself had worked with Gresley in the past. A second Mikado locomotive design was planned to have a Helmholtz pony truck, a system already successfully applied on the continent. However, both proposals for 8-coupled locomotives were resisted by the Southern Railway's chief civil engineer, so a new 462 Pacific design was settled upon instead. The new design was intended for express passenger and semi-fast work in southern England, though it had to be equally adept at freight workings during the nominal mixed traffic classifications Bullard applied to the class for them to be built during wartime. Administrative measures had been put into place by the wartime government, preventing the construction of express passenger locomotives due to shortages of materials and a need for locomotives with freight hauling capabilities. Classifying a design as mixed traffic neatly circumvented this restriction. When it comes to design, most of the detailed design for the Merchant Navy class was undertaken by the drawing office at Brighton Works, but some work was also undertaken by Ashford and Eastleigh. This division of responsibility was possibly due to Bullitt's wish to restrict knowledge of the new class to a limited number of personnel. The design incorporated a number of novel features compared to the then current steam locomotive practice in Great Britain. And as we can see here, we have an image of the cylinders, valve gear, wheels and brakes. Bullitt's chain valve gear. It was originally intended to use a gear-driven valve gear, but space restrictions within the frames and wartime material shortages led Bullitt to design his novel chain-driven valve gear. This component was unique amongst the British locomotive practices. This resulted in the locomotives being equipped with the unusual 6'2" in 188 meters Bullard Firth Brown BFB driving wheels, with both lighter and stronger than the spoked equivalent. These proved to be successful and were later used on other Bullitt classes. The leading bogie was based upon the SR Lord Nelson class, although it had a 6'3" wheelbase as opposed to Mansell's 7'6" design, and featured a 3'1" BFB wheels. A long coupled driving wheelbase was incorporated into the design to keep the locomotives within the lineal loading of the incorporated into the design. Southern Railway's narrowest bridges, the supporting rear trailing truck was a one-piece steel casting that gave the smoothest of rides. The design was utilised in the future by BR Standard Class 7s. Please note the image here of the driving wheel of the distinctive Bullitt Firth Brown design, seen here as on locomotive number 35010, the Blue Star. Note the balance weight on the lower right, a feature not present in the Merchant Navy locomotives as built. Information on the boiler and welded firebox. The maximum boiler pressure was higher than any of the British regular service locomotives, except for the GWR County class at 280 psi. Bullitt decided on a cheaper all-welded fireboxes for the boilers as opposed to more common riveted construction, and a steel inner firebox, which was 1.5 long. 1.5 tons, lighter than a more usual copper example. Two welded steel thermic siphons were implemented to improve water circulation around the firebox, and these were subcontracted to Bayer Peacock. However, he soon discovered that the Southern Railway lacked the facilities to manufacture welded boilers of this size, so the first 10 boilers were ordered on outside contract from the North British Locomotive Company. More information on the smoothed casing. The boiler was enveloped by Bullitt's air-smoothed sheet steel casing, which was not for the purposes of streamlining, as demonstrated by the extremely flat front end, but as a way of lifting exhaust gases. The flat sides were also an aid to cleaning the locomotives, with mechanical carriages washers, representing an attempt to reduce labour costs. It followed the profile of the Belpaire firebox and extended to a curved profile forward of the smokebox front. Spun glass mattresses were used for the boiler lagging. The smokebox was a sheet metal fabrication to the same profile as the firebox, acting as a former to maintain the shape of air-smooth casing, and between the casing was supported by channel section steel crinolines, strengtheners used to maintain the shape attached to the frames. The smokebox housed a 5-nozzle lamentary blast pipe ranged in a circle with a large diameter chimney. More information on the tender. Bullitt designed a new 5,000 imperial gallons 22.730 of coal on a 6-wheel chassis. It featured BFB wheels and streamlined panels, or raves, that gave the top of the tender a similar cross-sectional outline to the carriages hauled by the locomotive. The water tank was welded sheet construction to save weight, and the tender was fitted with vacuum braking equipment of a glass type similar to the use of the locomotive. 3 train brake vacuum reservoirs of cylindrical construction were grouped on the tank top, behind the coal space. Unusually for a British locomotive, 2 extra water filter caps were incorporated into the tender front for access from the footplate. The original tender design proved to be inadequately braced and subject to serious leakage if even slightly damaged, or when water surges caused the welded joints to split. The problem was not solved until 1944, when additional baffling was fitted. Basic construction and the history of the clause. The Southern Railway placed an order for 10 of the new locomotives to be built at Eastleigh Works, although the boilers had to be supplied from private industry and the tenders were built at Ashford. The prototype was completed in February 1941, numbered 21C1 and named Channel Packet. At a ceremony at Eastleigh Works on 10 March 1941, it underwent extensive trials and minor modifications before joining Southern Railway stock for June 1941. A second prototype, 21C2 Union Castle, was completed in June and named at Victoria Railway Station on the 4th of July. Both prototypes were found to be 7 tons over the specified weight, and the insistence of the Southern Railway civil engineer, production of the remainder was halted until steps were taken to remedy this. This was achieved by using thinner steel plates for the frame stretchers and covering the boiler cladding, and enlarging the existing lightning holes in the main frames. The remaining 8 locomotives in the batch were delivered between September 1941 and July 1942. A second batch of 10 followed beginning in December 1944 and culminating in June 1945. These were entirely constructed at Eastleigh and equipped with 5,100 imperial gallon tenders. The Merchant Navy class spawned the design and construction of a lighter version of the same locomotive, with consequently increased route availability. These were the West County and Battle of Britain class light Pacifics, the first of which entered service in 1945. Just prior to the nationalisation of the railways in 1948, the Southern Railway placed an order for 10 more Merchant Navy locomotives with larger 6,000 imperial gallon tenders. A shortage of materials meant that delivery was delayed until September 1948 and completed in 1949. The batch never carried Southern Railway numbers. Eastleigh was responsible for the construction of the final batch, which were in the series 35021 to 35030. Construction was undertaken in-house by Eastleigh Works, with the boilers and tenders constructed at Brighton, the frames at Ashford and the rest at Eastleigh. These were equipped with wedge-shaped cab fronts from the outset, and greater use of welding ensured lighter locomotives. The batch was also fitted with the TA trailer treatment integral armament, chemical feed water equipped, used on the light Pacifics. The precipitated scale forming constituents of the hard water of southern England into non-adhesive mud that could be cleared from the locomotive using a manual blow-down valve. A delay in the construction of the new larger tenders for the new locomotives meant that some were fitted with the smaller examples intended for use with light Pacifics that were under construction at the time. 2 spare boilers for the class were also constructed at Brighton and Eastleigh during 1950 and 1951. More information on the numbering and naming of the locomotives. As we can see here, the Canadian Pacific, Merchant Navy class, nameplate configuration, and this is obviously on the 35005 Canadian Pacific, the one I have on my layout in rebuilt form. Bullitt adopted a new numbering scheme for all his locomotives based on continental practice, following his experiences at the French branch of Westinghouse Electric before the First World War, and those of his tenure under now operating department during the conflict. The Southern Railway numbers followed an adaptation of the UC classification system of using letters and numbers to designate the powered and unpowered axles together with a running number. Thus, the first 462 locomotives became 21C1, where 2 and 1 referred to the number of unpowered leading and trailing axles respectively, and C refers to the number of driving axles, in this case 3. The remainder were numbered 21, C2, 21, C20. The name or the scheme was abandoned by British Railways in 1949, and the existing locomotives were renumbered under British Railway standard system in the series 35001 up to 35020. The final batch appeared in traffic as 35021 to 3503. Here we can see a poster of the Savill line promoting immigration to New Zealand in the 1870s. Savill line of London was a shipping company set up to transport both produce and passengers between Great Britain and New Zealand. Robert Edward Shaw and Walter Savill, employees of Willers, Grown and Company and London shipbroking and chartering firm, set up their own account in 1858 and began chartering ships. They bought their first ship in 1865, while the trading name Shaw Savill remained the same. The partners who owned it changed a number of times. Very interesting that the Southern Railway considered naming the locomotives after victories of the Second World War, to the extent that mocked-up nameplate River Plate was produced, and the event, when early successes for the British proved too few and far between, the chairman of the Union Castle Line suggested naming them after shipping companies which had called at Southampton docks in peacetime. This idea resonated in 1941 because the shipping lines were heavily involved in the Atlantic convoys to and from Britain during the Second World War. A new design of nameplate was created featuring a circular plate with a smaller circle in the center. The inner circle carried the colors of the shipping company on a stylized flag, and an Air Force blue background. Around the outer circle was the name of the locomotive, picked out in gilt lettering. A horizontal rectangular plate was attached to either side of the circular nameplate with Merchant Navy class in gilt lettering. This acted as a class plate as indicated on the nameplate photograph. A lovely loco and part of history, and coming down to the sad part of withdrawals. Their principal work was on the Southern West Main Line to Southampton and Bournemouth until 1967. However, the main reason why the class began to be withdrawn in 1964 was the transfer of the main line between Salisbury and Exeter to the Western region and the introduction of warship class diesel hydraulic locomotives on these services. The rebuilt locomotives were therefore withdrawn relatively soon after their rebuilding, while still in excellent condition. The first two to be withdrawn were the second prototype 35002 Union Castle and 35015 Rotterdam Lloyd in February 1965. Nearly half of the class had been withdrawn by the end of 1965, but 7 survived until the end of steam on the southern region in the summer of 1967. Then furthermore, 11 of the class survived into preservation, thanks largely to high workload of Woodham Brothers scrapyard in Barry Vale of Glamorgan, South Wales, which found it easier and more lucrative to scrap railway wagons, keeping the more technical steam locomotives for a downturn in workload. 5 of the surviving merchant navy steam locomotives have run in preservation, number 35005, which I have on my layout as rebuild option, and 35006, 35018, 35027, and 35028. 3 members of the class 35005, 35018, and 35028 have operated on the main line in preservation. The locomotives ended up at the Barry scrapyard. One, however, the number 35028, the Clan line, was purchased by the Merchant Navy Locomotive Preservation Society, direct from British Railway Service in 1967, and the Clan line has since been regarded as the flagship of the class. Furthermore, 5 examples have returned to the steam, but it's unlikely that many of the remainder will do so, as the class is too large and heavily for use and most of today's heritage railways. As the entire fleet was rebuilt from 1956 onwards, no examples exist in the original condition, although a team is attempting to reverse engineer number 35011 General Steam Navigation with its air-smooth casing and chain-driven valve gear. And lastly, more information about the liveries. Livery was Southern Railway and malachite green with the sunshine yellow, horizontal lining and lettering. The first 5 locomotives were given a matte finish so as to obscure small irregularities in the casing. All class members that operated during the Second World War were eventually repainted in Southern Railway wartime black livery with green shaded sunshine lettering. However, this was reverted to malachite green upon the ending of the hostilities. The 21C1 channel packet originally had an invented horseshoe on the smokebox door, indicating its southern origin, but crews believed this to be unlucky, and as a result, design meant that this became a roundel, the gap being filled by the year of the destruction, so it acted as a builder's plate. The background was painted red. Early members of the class had cast iron number plates and gilt southern plates on the tender, but these were subsequently replaced by transfers. So there you have it, everyone. I have ordered the VE rolling stock and I've got some war theme characters on my layout and some other locus of wartime, and this one is definitely one of my favorites as well, to go along with my Lemberg on the VE Day specials and celebration days. And once again, thank you so much everyone for joining me on this episode of the Savill SR Merchant Navy class locomotive, and I wish you all only the best. Thank you for all your comments and support. I really appreciate it. All my best. Regards, Elizabeth.